call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. Let's go.
Hey, so
Hey, I thought you were, yeah, I was thinking maybe it's just me, but your
yeah,
screen seems frozen.
yeah,
But hello, everybody, welcome.
yeah, my computer froze in the middle of the intro playing for some reason. I don't know what happened there.
No worries, no
So
worries. It happens. We'll keep the audience entertained over here.
so the I came and joined in from my phone while my computer is starting back up, and once it gets going, I'll kick back over to there. Um, let's see here. I could do this for now.
Hello.
The yeah, sorry
As long
about
as
that,
you're here,
everyone.
we're good.
That's weird. The I haven't had it do that before. That's odd.
You know
But
what? It's probably me. I always bring like tech problems to every stream I go to. It seems it's either like background sound or like completely pixelated images or people's cows drop. It's just yeah, it's me.
yeah, that was I was the intro was playing and I looked up at the screen and it didn't even like blue screen. It just went a bunch of colors and then the audio
Ah man.
froze on a single
Yeah,
note
first it
and
was like, okay, I saw you on the screen and I was like, wait, it's gonna say something. And yeah, I was looking around and your face looked frozen. I was like, oh no. And then you joined in. I was like,
yeah,
so we're good.
that was a new one there. The is it coming back on? But anyway, hi everyone. Thanks for coming. Today I've got AJ from the channel Ways to Human. AJ is linked in the chat and in the title of the video as well. So AJ has not been making content on her channel for a long time, but you should definitely go over and check out and subscribe. We've talked a little bit and nerded out about some psychology and brain physiology stuff, but
Yeah.
um, and we have a number of things in common to talk about. You know, like the we were just discussing before we started. We might get a little bit into some things to do with addiction and stuff like that, which you know, like normally you wouldn't think an atheist show would be about those things, but uh, it affects everybody. It's not particular. So definitely members of this community that have dealt with that as well. And so anyway, thank you for coming and talking to me. You did this on short notice, and then I ended up like flubbing up the schedule and had to move it to today, which
Yeah, we both had it off, so it's cool.
but we're here now. Well, I've done been booted out once, but we're here for the moment. So why don't you give me a little background about you, your presence in the atheist community, shows that you work with, and stuff like that, while I am logging back in on my computer.
Sounds good. Yeah, you know, I got started like I was telling you earlier with some of the call-in shows. That was like my very first live video experience. But before that, I had done videos on my channel, just just random videos, mostly about religious stuff, but sort of debunking religious stuff with science or history, because I really enjoy both science and history. Mostly brain science, neurology stuff. That was, I would say, that's what helped me the most when I was deconverting, to realize, what your dreams mean, what your emotions, where your emotions actually come from, where conscience comes from, um, rather than thinking about, oh, ghosts, or we have a spirit or stuff like that. You switch more to like a physicalist belief of realizing, hey, it's all your brain. Yeah, so I started putting that type of content on my channel, thinking, this is going to help other people. People seem to enjoy it, so I continued to do it. And I also, on top of that, I found that it wasn't just people listening, it was people engaging back. So like a back and forth, like coming in these type of channels, like your channel. We all sort of try and building community. You look at everybody in the chat, I see like all these familiar names like Jason Freer and PC and Nitty, and everybody's on there. It's like all of these people supporting each other. So when you find that type of community, it's hard to say, hey, never mind. I'm gonna no, like you're like, I really want to do more for everybody else. So yeah, on top of coming on other people's channels, I also try to help people go on others' channels and like recommend, somebody, if I know somebody that's trying to grow their channel, or like, I don't know. I did graphics for Helen's channel. I'm always like offering my volunteer time for modding or for like video editing, like anything that people might need. Uh, that's kind of how I got into this.
Yeah. And like it's not completely unique to the atheist community, but definitely like for this particular, I guess, part of the atheist community, it's not just like you don't have creators. I mean, you do have some too, like, admittedly so, but you don't have just creators that are making content and you watch the content and go on. It's more of a like you actually know these people and talk to these people.
Yeah.
Most of the people in this chat have know me better than they do a lot of creators on other channels, and outside of the atheist community, that is, because people do know a lot of people and talk to them and stuff, and everybody's just been, I mean, it's been an awesome like experience socially, just getting to know people and how awesome everybody has been, and the like sometimes, especially when you get on here and talk all the time, you're bound to get something wrong or say something silly or do something silly at some point.
Happens, yeah.
Yeah, and rather than like people attacking you and being like you suck and all these things, everybody's always there to like try and help each other
Smooth
and
it
hold each
out,
other
yeah.
accountable in a constructive way.
Okay, I apologize about that.
No, it's fine. I mean, my computer crashed. We can handle a smoke detector or whatever it was.
It's my insulin pump. It's like,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay,
it's telling me that it's about to expire. So
all right.
yeah, I mean, I didn't know you very well before, like a couple of weeks ago. I'd heard your name here and there, and I think I'd seen some of your videos like a year ago. I remember the logo looked very familiar once I saw it again, and then I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It popped up with Secular Rarity on a live show, and yeah, I guess he told you about me, and then you were like, "Oh, let's do it." It's like that's how everybody's. It does. They do the same thing. It's like, yeah, I'm actually hanging out with him tomorrow on my channel. So
Yeah,
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 so he's
awesome.
cool. He's cool. Yeah, I got to meet him in person in August when he came down to Texas. So he's cool. He's a good guy.
Yeah, and that's another thing. We're always like networking and meeting new people, and a number of people in my chat have known you for a minute, and I didn't. But as we go, I meet all kinds of new people. It's amazing the number of people in my chat that I've had like one-on-one conversations with in some
But
capacity.
yeah, I mean,
at
like
some
I
time.
said, I see Helen. Helen joined us. Yeah, I watched
Yeah,
her show last night. Yeah.
I love
So
the artwork in the background, the heart with the
oh
love.
yeah, I painted that one myself. Yeah,
That's
I'm
super cool.
artistic on top of yeah.
Well, I
Somebody
actually
pointed out
have.
my microscope too. That's that microscope. It's like my pride and joy because I homeschool my kid and we use that for like science stuff. So it's fun.
I
I got
never
a
had
good
a nice
quality one.
microscope. I had one of those little cheap red ones when I was a kid, but still I learned a lot with it. I actually have a person with similar colored hair as yours that does graphics here on this show. Um, I uh, I depend a lot on you artistic folks because I have zero. Jess, how to roll an asteroid there in the chat right here, um, is does all those amazing intros and stuff that you've seen as the show
Same.
started. And hey, Jess, and thank you for all you do. Jess makes so much cool stuff, and every time she finds like a new toy, some kind of new design software or something, I get like 20 things to post, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead, keep making stuff. I'll keep posting it.
That's cool. That's cool.
But
Yeah, I
Jess,
used to do a lot of graphic design, but then I lost my vision. Like I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago, my vision started going downwards, and it was always kind of bad. But I have a genetic issue, and it was just getting worse and worse. And we had been talking forever about doing a corneal transplant, and so like in 2022, it got to that point where I couldn't really see anything anymore. I couldn't even use my computer anymore. Like I couldn't read anything, couldn't do any graphic stuff. So I had to stop doing that. And I've been getting into it lately because one of my eyes is good now. Like I finished the whole, it's like a 1 year process after they first do the transplant, then they take out the stitches in two parts, and yes, they can stitch your eyeballs. It's painful. As painful as that sounds, that's how painful it is.
I had a
Um,
scratch on my
but
cornea, and that was awful. So
stitches, yeah, it
yeah,
was bad. It was bad. I would
my
say,
sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, no, that the recovery from the transplant was really rough, and then so then once they take the stitches out, in my case, I had cataracts because of the genetic stuff, and so they had to do a second surgery. So they finished that one last December, and then we did immediately did the other eye just so I could do the whole process again.
Right.
And so like Monday, I had my stitches taken out of the right eye, so it's still kind of irritated right now. And then in 2 weeks, I'll have the cataract surgery. So by January, I should be good. And I'm so
Awesome.
happy because this eye is like I didn't expect the vision to come back like so well. So I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, great. I actually now I have my vision's great, but I grew up. My dad was blind for a number of years before he passed away. He had glaucoma and ended up being legally blind, and then towards the end completely blind. And so um, I've I've seen firsthand how tough it is for people with severe vision problems and stuff. And so I'm glad that you're getting it fixed and back on track. That'll be awesome. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean, like technology is like amazing. And I don't know if you know, but I'm also deaf, so I have a cochlear implant. I have the whole bionic woman thing going on with the insulin pump. Like my whole body's just like shit.
well, I have an artificial heart valve, and
Oh, my kid does. My kid has that one. That's cool.
does his
What
tick?
condition do you have? What's your heart condition that you
Um,
have?
I had endocarditis, which led to
Okay.
having my aortic valve replaced with a mechanical valve, and
Oh
then I had
wow.
2 mesh patches put on my heart as well.
Okay, okay.
One
Yeah,
to
my
undo a
my
valve.
kid has the patches too. He has the
Yeah,
trilogy of a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a congenital heart defect, born with it. But yeah,
yeah,
he had the valve, the pulmonary valve patch, like 1 month old or so, and then after that, because it doesn't grow as well with the body, then they have to replace the valve eventually. They usually try to wait as late in their teenage years as possible, but his condition was so severe that they had to do it when he was like 9. That was in 2020. So had,
yeah,
but now hopefully, since they were able to put the melody valve there, we won't need to replace it with open heart surgery, but rather they'll do it like with the cat
yeah.
procedure.
So,
So
so in a quiet room, you can actually hear me tick like a clock. Um,
really, that's awesome.
yeah.
It's kind of cool. I don't know if I could hear it, but
I've like walked into like I went into a vape store. It was real quiet in there, and I was at the counter, and the guy was like, "Sorry for asking, but what is that ticking sound?" I see you don't have a watch on, but I hear ticking, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's my heart." Um,
nice.
it took like a year for my girlfriend to get used to sleeping in the bed with me with the
Uh,
constant ticking sound at night, and
Now she like tunes it out.
yeah. Well, I still hear like every single tick in my head, um, and that's kind of that was kind of hard to get used to as well. It's something that I don't know because it's like I used to cut grass on big 0-turn mowers, and even when you're on that loud ass mower with no ear protection at all, because it's inside of you ticking, you
True.
can still hear it over that, and
Yeah.
there's nothing that drowns it out at any time. And for a
Well,
while, the thing was when I was talking or doing anything, I'm hearing that beat in my head, so I get in that
yeah.
cadence of whatever the beat is, and it
I get that because being deaf, like when I take everything off, sometimes I have tinnitus, which is like a sound in your close to your ear, and I used to get these migraines where it came with like a chirping, like a bird chirping sound,
sure.
and I would take everything off, and it was still there, and it was so loud, and like there was no way for me to block it out. It was just there.
Yeah, it's different whenever it's like coming from inside your body, like you the
There's no
uh
escaping.
and it's the heart thing has been of course, I mean, you don't easily adjust to such a thing. It takes a while, like but I'm making it. They just put me on a CPAP machine here the other day. That's the newest thing I got going. But
Oh, yeah,
the,
my husband uses that one. Well, he should be, but he doesn't. But he has it.
well,
The good
I've
thing is that I will take my sound off at night, so I didn't hear it.
mine doesn't make any noise.
Oh, that's cool.
It's completely silent. The
Nice.
only thing you may hear is if I take a deep breath or something, you'll hear the valve in the hose like close. But other than that, you don't. It doesn't make a sound at all. It's completely silent. The
That's cool.
the thing with it though that's been tough is so the I'm having something on my face and just
Mhm.
it makes my throat dry and stuff a little bit, and it's just those things. So I've been doing good to sleep more than an hour at a time,
That's
and
rough.
so over the course of a night I may sleep like 4 hours, 1 hour at a time over the whole night, and so I catch myself like falling asleep during the day. And I fell asleep on a stream the other night. I
Oh
wasn't on
wow.
video. I was over on Dave's channel, Captive Desk. We were doing the Saturday
Oh,
Night at
the
the Atheist,
sound. Yeah,
and I started snoring in the middle of it. And
that's funny.
yeah, but so I'm trying to get used to it. And after 14 days, I just figure at some point I'm gonna have to get exhausted enough to where I start sleeping. So
That's
um,
true.
I'm just waiting on that.
Yeah, at some point you gotta sleep. I don't know, maybe you're just gonna go a little crazy, have some hallucinations or something.
Yeah. The well, what was happening was I was fall whenever I would go to fall asleep, as I would doze off, I would gasp for air and wake up. So I wasn't getting any sleep anyway. And
Oh, yeah.
when I was, my girlfriend was telling me, she was like, "You need to talk to the doctor because you're like your breathing's all messed
I
up while you're
know.
asleep." And
I
like,
keep telling my husband like you're gonna stop breathing. Sometimes you're like breathing so hard to like I'm thinking of waking you up because I'm thinking you're gonna stop breathing. So it sounds like it's probably similar to what your girlfriend was
yeah,
experiencing.
yeah. She said it was scary.
Yeah.
So like, and it, as far as like when I lay down and I do go to sleep, like it records how many events and stuff I have, which that number's still really high, but um,
Mm.
at least it's doing something to alleviate that. And so, I mean, even though it's been a pain in the ass so far, I'm still happy with it, even though I'm getting less sleep, which is weird, but I'll get used to it eventually. It's not that big a deal. I'm glad to have it and glad to be able to have it for now. It's already at my house now, so when Donald Trump takes my insurance, I'll still be able to breathe,
Oh
um,
man.
which is better than some people are getting. So
Yeah. I mean, well, you still have to get the parts sometimes. So like it's the same with some of my my devices that I use, like the insulin pump and stuff. I'm like, man, I'm trying to like hog all of the supplies that I can get now before the end of the year, especially since I've met the out of pocket. So I'm like,
yeah,
let's do it. That's why I'm doing the surgery now. And I was like, I have to do it in December. My doctor was like, all right, we'll take your stitches out, and then like 2 weeks we'll do your surgery. And I was like, yeah, let's do that.
yeah, yeah. Somebody said, "Well, you all look great. Wouldn't be able to tell you all go through so much." Well, thank you. And I didn't plan on talking about medical history here, but it's still an interesting
Yeah, I mean,
conversation to hear
yeah, looks
about.
like we have a lot in common too. So,
Yeah, I told you my dad was had glaucoma and went blind. The reason for that was he was a diabetic, and they
mm,
didn't have pumps and stuff like that back then. He died in 1994 when I was 11, and
man.
I my mom worked midnights at the hospital, so like 8, 9, 10 years old, I was checking his sugar and giving him multiple insulin shots a day
Wow,
as a child because he
that's
couldn't see to
hard.
do it. Um, but
Yeah.
I mean, you learn. To me, it wasn't a. I mean, like I tell people that now, and they're like, "Wow, you were having to give your dad shots when you were a kid. That's weird." And I'm like, "Yeah, it wasn't that weird. It was, it was is what it was. I guess it's not a big deal, but
Well, I mean, I would say it can be a little scary for how can I say this? No, I'm not saying like traumatic, but like it can be something that will affect you later in life. To having to see
sure.
your one of your parents going through something
Oh,
so hard, like his vision and his having to give him the shots and all of that, and like
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was tough seeing my dad be sick like he was for so many years. Um, the Now the thing that my dad is like was a bigger smartass than I am, which if you get to know me a little better, you'll find out that I'm a big smartass sometimes. But like he would, I mean, I was a kid and I would go to give him a shot and poke him with an insulin needle, and sometimes he would like scream like I was killing him just to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid, which
uh,
wasn't very nice, I don't guess. But again, it's like that was kind of like where I grew up, so it wasn't to me it was normal, and I knew he
yeah,
was joking with me, and so whatever. It's I don't I I don't look at those things negatively. So I
yeah. I
mean,
guess he was trying to make it into a more positive experience for you, probably.
yeah, yeah, and I suppose I would have always had the option, like if I didn't want to do that, I could have
Yeah,
went and woke up my mom, and you know, even though she was working midnights, I'm sure she would have got up and given my dad his shot when it was needed and stuff. She had just got her nursing license and was working midnights at the hospital. So, you know, there was
Yeah.
a nurse there if anything went wrong.
True. True. Yeah. I mean, it's a hard sort of responsibility too, because you have to know like the amounts of insulin to give, and like if you give somebody too much insulin, like definitely can be deadly. Like I've had some pretty severe lows, like in the 30s, and it's scary.
Yeah, but so the way that my dad and I figured out how to do it is that I would check his sugar, which was the easy part, of course, and
That
I would
actually
tell.
hurts more than the insulin
Oh, yeah,
needles.
no, I agree, especially when you're doing it all the time. The I would do that, and then I would tell him what that number was, and then he would tell me exactly like how much air to put in the vial, how much to pull
Okay.
up, and make sure that I have me double check it and make sure that I did it right and stuff. So, I
Yeah.
mean, in a way, there was actually a learning experience there. Even as a 10-year-old, after so long of doing it, I kind of knew. I mean, he still told me what numbers and things, but I still knew. Um, the
Yeah, I mean, like there's kids that have type 1 diabetes, and their parents teach them how to do that themselves from so early on. Like they'll start learning, like as soon as they can start reading, they can learn the numbers, they can learn to read the needles, and
yeah,
all of that. So I'm
yeah,
lucky that now we have all this technology. Like this insulin pump that I have is one that's connected to another device, which is a continuous glucose monitor. So I don't really have to do my finger checks anymore, unless I suspect that the number is wrong. And then I have the whole thing, and it tells me the blood sugar. And then if I want to give myself insulin, I just push a button and
so
tell it how much I'm gonna eat, and it takes that number, the blood sugar, and it calculates it for me. So it's
yeah,
like,
you actually have, it looks like the exact same setup that my girlfriend's dad has. He has that whole setup there
oh,
where
that's
he
cool.
does all
Yes,
that. So
the
that's pretty neat.
Omnipod. Yeah, yeah.
So you and I, one of the things we kind of nerded out about whenever we first talked was Gabor Mate, who I've told my audience about before, but is a um, neuroscientist. Is that what the right word?
Yeah, I would say he has a lot of different things that he does, because I know that he is a neuroscientist, but at the same time he's I would say maybe a neuropsychologist,
Yeah.
neuropsychiatrist too, because he does both like the uh, biology of the brain as well as the psychology of the brain. But I would say mostly psychology,
So
probably.
where I was first exposed to him was because of addiction. So he does a lot of talks about that,
He
and
does. That
um,
was actually the very first talk that I heard from him. It was like a 2 hour talk, and I
yeah.
just could not stop listening to it. Like,
Yeah, it because he does such an amazing job of breaking it down into stuff you can understand, first of all, but really just explaining it thoroughly and slowly. And he's such a great communicator when it comes to that stuff.
mhm.
Um, he I was actually at one of the various clinics that I had went to, and for our group that day, they played one of his videos, and it was him talking about the physiology of addiction and then like how it makes these physical changes in the brain over time, and that what happens when you get clean and all that stuff. It was this was back right shortly after the time they have had decided that they were going to label addiction as a disease. So this video was him explaining why it was a disease, in fact, and awesome video though. And that led me to watching some of his other stuff. So it's really neat. You're the only person I've ran into that has ever brought him up to me. I'm usually the one that's like, if you want to know about this stuff, watch this guy. And I've talked about him a couple times on stream, but
Yeah, I
Yeah,
bring him up to people, but I've never had anybody say, "Oh, yeah, I know who that is." Like they're just like, "Oh, okay, I'll check him out." Kind of
yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah.
So it's
No,
cool.
I have.
So I was expecting that response when I told you about him. I was like, "He's not gonna know who that is."
You were prepared. You were prepared to send me a link, and I'm like, yeah, I know him. That guy's
Right.
awesome. I love his stuff.
Nice.
But
Yeah, I thought it was
yeah.
fun.
I actually posted links and everything to him a while back. It's been quite a while now. I can probably do it again. Um, and and although it seems like you and I kind of have different experiences with where addiction went for us, yet another person in this community that I've encountered that has dealt with it themselves. I know that in today's society, there's in a lot of places anyway, there's hardly a person that addiction doesn't touch them in some way. I in fact imagine that in this area, there's not. I would go as far as to suggest there's not a single person that doesn't have it in their family somewhere, or some friend that
Yeah,
died from it, or
yeah, I do have
something
family
like that.
members that.
So it's something that's unfortunately really prevalent and really a big problem today. And so it's always nice to talk to people and hear a little bit about their experience. And you were an atheist at the time you through most of your addiction, or all of your addiction, or?
Yeah. It was like this year.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's pretty recent.
So
Yeah.
yeah. See, I've been clean for like almost 10 years now.
Oh, that's cool.
But
That's awesome.
it's but I mean, mine again, we kind of have different situations of how
Yeah.
that even went. My addiction ended up being, although it started with a doctor and drugs. Well, I don't want to say it started there. It started before that, but that's at the point that it really got worse, because then it was so easy for me to obtain those things. A doctor giving me 60 Percocet 10s every 10 days was like
Yeah.
easy drugs. And then we were having them shipped here from Canada for a period of time, just getting boxes of pain pills and nerve pills.
Yeah, I would say a lot of doctors do that where they're kind of, I would say, irresponsible in the way that they prescribe it.
Definitely, definitely. Well, they had a different system. So it used to be that all pain was subjective. If you
Yeah.
said you were in some amount of pain, then the doctors had to take you at your word, or that's kind of the guidelines they followed. They took you at your word, and whatever you say, if you went in with a cut and you said your pain was a 10, then they had to accept that, and
Yeah.
they then acted accordingly as if you were in pain that was a level 10. So you could get pain pills for any number of things. Now they've kind of realized that there's ways to treat pain and stuff that doesn't necessarily have to be that way. I mean, there's
Yeah.
still pain medication is a great thing when used correctly and for the things it's needed for. But when you have somebody with, like I sprained my ankle and you're writing them Oxycontin, that's kind of a bit extreme, like so.
Yeah, and especially when they do it to people who are very young and who don't have like a lot of experience, or like their prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed, they don't make the best decisions. There's like teenagers there, or I don't know, 19, 20 year olds that get injured in college. At that age, they don't have the best ability to make those decisions that
Yeah,
will stop them from becoming addicted. Like my case was a lot different. It was like a lot of what you just mentioned, like using the pain medication on top of so many other different things. I have something called CRPS, this complex regional pain syndrome, and it started on my leg, and it took about 10 years to get the diagnosis. And so it was 10 years before they gave me any type of pain relief. Like doctors will be like, nah, you're just making it up, like we don't see
yeah,
anything wrong with you. But my leg will turn purple, it will be freezing cold. It was like a neurological type of condition. And so eventually, when it got properly diagnosed, it was diagnosed by doing a nerve block. Okay, it's like a giant needle stuck on your spine. Horribly painful procedure, but it helped with the pain. So the doctor was like, okay, you have this condition, so I'm gonna give you pain medication, but we are gonna also do these blocks. So we will
Yeah.
do the blocks every 3 months, and it was sometimes it would be under anesthesia. Sometimes I couldn't afford the anesthesia, or I was in so much pain that I didn't want to wait for the insurance to approve the anesthesia. So I would be like, just give me the pain medicine and
Yeah.
a Xanax. Yeah, they will give you like a Valium to like relax you. Then you just lay there, and then they put the needle through, and you have to stay completely still for like all that time that they're doing that, so that they don't injure your spinal cord. So like for me, it wasn't like I was faking the pain. You know, it was like I was doing all of these other procedures that were also aiming to help uh, combine pain relief with the pain medication and whatever else we were trying.
Yeah.
Eventually, I had a nerve stimulator implanted on my spine. That was like, I would say, one of the most horrible recoveries that I've had. Um,
Yeah.
then I was put on ketamine. We tried muscle relaxers. It was horrible. You want to know what
So
worked? A
what?
vegan diet. A vegan
Oh, really?
diet. that's what that's what helped the pain. I was able to stop. The first thing that went was the muscle relaxers. Then um, the nerve stimulator. I had to turn it off because I didn't need it anymore. So I had it turned off for like about a year. So that when we were like, all right, let's just remove it because it's just, you don't want to have that in your body just for no
Yeah.
reason. So we
Yeah.
removed it, and then the ketamine, and the last one was the pain medicine. It took me 2 years to get off of it. It was, I don't know, every time that I would try, it wasn't I wasn't taking it outside of the prescribed amount, but it was like your mind was kind of addicted. It was like, well, if I don't have this, then the pain is gonna come back. It was like a sort of traumatic thing for me, like fearing not having that crutch for the
Yeah.
pain, even though I wasn't in as much pain anymore. Like sometimes it would flare up, and I would have that, and I would be like, well, you see, the pain is back. So if I stop taking it, then and then also that. Yeah, obviously it's very strong. I was on oxycodone at the last few years. It's like a
Mm.
really really strong and extremely addictive. There's a whole documentary about it on Netflix about
Yeah,
how
there's
highly
a bunch of
addictive
them.
it is. Yeah, it's like it's crazy that it's even legal to
Yeah.
prescribe
Y-
something like that.
Yeah. For
So
some stuff, yeah. So although like my addiction eventually led to like heroin use and pretty much any other drug I could do, but opiates were always my drug of choice, because that's where I kind of started. Um, the Even though it got to that point, it was the same thing. Like I was always worried about how I was going to score the next dope because I knew that if I didn't, I was going to be sick and feel awful. And
yeah,
so even though it wasn't like so much, I knew I was going to be in pain, but my pain was from the drugs, of course, not something else. But I knew I
like
was going to be in pain and
yeah.
feel bad just the same. And so that was a big driving thing to always be like on top of it and always like it consumes your life.
I
It's
know every time I tried tapering the dose, it was like I would get so sick and nauseous and headaches and like the shakes and sweating, and it was just like, man, I can't do this. And I would go back up, and then I would try again the next month, and it was like the next visit that I would go to my doctor. There were a few times where I would just be seeing their nurse, right, like the nurse practitioner that gives you the prescription, and you don't even see the doctor, and she would be like, well, if you want to get off of it, you're gonna do it. You're gonna be able to do it. It was like kind of like, well, you're on your own. Oh, man, it was hard. Eventually, um, I did start. I asked to see my doctor again because he's a really good person. Like I've had this doctor since my diagnosis, and I trusted him, and that he put me on them, and that we will work together to get off of them.
yeah,
Um, So he was like, all right, well, look, there's this device called the bridge device. And it's like something that it's kind of like a stimulator that they put on the outside of your ear, and they attach it, and it does some type of vibrations that are supposed to affect the pathways in your brains to prevent some of the worst withdrawal symptoms. And but you have to go through the withdrawals for like the first week or so, and then you can do the device and have it for another 5 days, and then you take it off, and then you should be, sort of through the worst part. And it worked. It worked. That was the thing that worked, the bridge device. So if anybody's struggling with that, bridge device is really, really helpful.
I my girlfriend and I, when we met, we've been together for 11 years now. So the first year and a half to almost 2 years of our relationship was we were both on drugs, and we both got clean together and managed to stay together through that. And so it's we went through that together. Real quick here, and let me Jester gifted 5 Kentucky Atheist memberships. Thank you, Jester. It looks like Ryan Donovan, Gregory Nietzsche, Plastic Roses, Scott Free, and Paraspor Ad Astra all got memberships. So thank you, Jester, and welcome to the new members. I'll probably do some kind of members thing tomorrow, actually. Everything's kind of behind today, where I got behind on stuff, but so I'll probably do a member stream tomorrow for anybody that wants to check that out. It'll be an open panel. You can come hang out and talk about whatever you want. No particular subject. We just kind of hang out and talk on those. But I will. My girlfriend and I, though, we went through it together, and so I actually have. Let me see here. I can add a picture real quick and show you the difference in what I used to look like and what. I was 185 pounds at one time. I'm just over 300 now, which the heart things and all that kind of contributed to being way overweight now. That and my love of food didn't hurt things any.
I
But,
get you on that one, man. I love food.
Well, that was one of the things. I was addicted for like 20 years. Okay. So when I got off of drugs, like when you're on drugs, you don't give a shit about food or anything else. Like, I'm going to take that money and buy dope. I don't care about that light bill. I don't care about the water. I don't give a shit about none of it. I'm going to go buy drugs. And so once we got off drugs, we both started to love food a lot more. And you'll see in a couple of these pictures, I get larger in the middle of them. But this is my girlfriend and I, a collage of pictures. And
she's pretty.
Up here in the top left, I'm at my skinniest. And I think the biggest picture here is right here at the Hillbilly Hot Dogs in the middle, where I've got the jacket and the hoodie. But yeah, there's.
You really look different.
Yeah, over the years, we got clean, and so we changed a lot. And I don't believe me. I'll take being fat over being in that condition anytime. But
sure.
Yeah, so it was a big thing.
It is a big deal, man. It's a big deal, and it's like I said, it's hard, like that. I don't know, month or 2 months in the transition from going from that to being clean, and like it's a really big adjustment mentally, physically. Like there's a lot going on.
Oh yeah.
I was in a deep hole, man, for like a month. I stopped doing all the online stuff. I was just sitting on the couch day and night, like just sitting there. Like there was nothing that could bring me up, it seemed.
I mean, it affected every aspect of my life. I mean, and I mean like everything. The way I ate, the things I did sexually, in every way you can imagine, it affects your life. And the whenever I would go to groups and stuff at first, when I first started, because I used Suboxone, medicated assisted treatment, to at least get that started. And the whenever I would go to these groups, I would hear everybody talk about, oh, I got clean and my life is so perfect and everything's great now because I'm not on drugs and I love life so much. And I remember going to those groups, and I would literally, like, if they gave me a turn, did it affect the way you poop? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. In fact,
Very
we don't
regular
have to
now.
talk about that. But the
Well, opiates, opiates will back you up, man.
yeah.
Just saying.
The I actually would stand up and say, like, I don't know what the fuck you all are talking about, but, like, life sucks now. I don't have any friends. I'm not having the fun I used to have, and doing the things I used to do. And, like, I have no desire to do anything. I feel like shit all the time, even though, like, I'm not sick. It's just like I have to deal with, those normal pains and things that being an adult has, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you guys are crazy. And that's one of the things that whenever because I went and talked at schools and to different groups and all kinds of stuff now about this. And that's one of the things that I tell people is, like, you're going to hear people say that life is perfect when they got off drugs. And it does get better. But, like, don't set your expectations to the point of, I'm going to get off drugs and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and everything's going to be perfect, because that's just not the way it's going to be. Like,
No, it's
the
not.
hardest part of that, well, the best part of getting off drugs is that you get your emotions back, but the worst part of it is that you also get your emotions back. So,
Oh,
like,
yeah. And you have to deal with them.
yeah,
You can't
you have
just,
to
like,
actually
show
confront
them
them.
down and hide them with drugs. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
and one of the things, like, accountability is so important in that, because you have to be able to realize that you have control over these things, and that you
But
can.
I think it helps a lot when people realize how the brain works. It
Yeah,
helps you a lot more to be able to deal with everything that goes on when you're going through that transition. Like I said, if I didn't know all that I know now about the brain, I probably would have been like, I'm crazy person. Like, I'm never gonna get better. Like, this is it. This is the end. Like, there's no point. But I had to remind myself there's like your brain was for 10 years or however long it was used to all this external dopamine rush, right? Like, you take a drug, your dopamine goes up, then it comes down, then it doesn't even have to go all the way down. You just fix it by taking another hit, whatever,
yeah,
whatever it is. And it's not just with drugs. It works the same way with religious practices like prayer. It works the same way with food. It works the same way with people who are addicted to sex, gambling, online, whatever, their phones. All of these things that handle dopamine release are going to be affecting your mood. And so when you stop using whatever it is that was externally providing you with that dopamine, then you're gonna have to be dealing with the constant crashes of dopamine, until your body starts to remember how to produce it on its own.
yeah, you're right. It's when you understand those things, it does make it, because you know a little bit more about what's going on with yourself and what to expect. And you'll have to forgive me, I got sidetracked. The chat is now having a whole conversation about poop. um
Oh, yeah,
the
I saw that about free will like, and poop. Okay, yeah.
but yeah, but one of the things that I'm actually, that I hope, it's like a pipe dream of mine, I guess, is to I want to eventually do like a full-length documentary on evidence-based care and faith-based care, and how in faith-based care they're actually doing a lot of damage and complicating things by
Yeah,
trying to introduce religion
I
into.
did a show about this recently on another channel. Yeah, we talk about this topic, how different it is. Like I say, in evidence-based care, like and versus faith-based care. Like you're not really healing somebody. It's just yeah, you can be swapping one addiction for another. Normally, it's just like this type of it becomes like an obsession with religion. The people that get clean using religious facilities, like whether they're through the church or through like Catholic hospital type settings, they're all using the same methodology for swapping drugs for Jesus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope you get to do that. That would be really cool. I will watch that documentary.
Yeah. I want to. I've been trying to wait until I can. Well, I've been without a car for a long time, but on top of that, though, I've been waiting until I like have the equipment and stuff to like really do it professionally and do it
Yeah.
justice, because I want to. I have the sources and the professionals and all the different people to talk to already, like um, in different aspects of my life lined up that can speak on these things, and I could think I can really put together a rather good piece of work on it. So I'm kind of waiting until I have that. Because I guess I could do it at any point, but I don't want to just do a video covering it. I want to actually like,
Yeah, you want it to be something like
yeah,
good quality, so that it goes further
yeah, and
far wide.
it encompasses both of those things, right? Like I can talk about the addiction and all that stuff, and it still kind of borderlines the atheism and why I not feel the way I do on some parts of it, and why it's a better way to view those things. But yeah, the the addiction stuff is when I first started doing this, I was like, well, I probably won't really bring up too much about like that part of my life and stuff, and then people
Yeah,
were
there's a lot of
curious.
bias, and like there's a lot. It's kind of like a taboo topic on many for many people. But I think that it I mean, I'm seeing it in the chat. Like people are asking questions. They're curious, and like they're interested in it. No, I didn't see anybody being judgmental, and I appreciate that. I think it's a good thing to talk about, because like you said, there's nobody that isn't affected by it in one way or another, whether directly or indirectly, friends, family, somebody they know. uh, so I think it's definitely something that we should continue to bring up.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, whenever I did finally like actually talk about it and stuff, I ended up with like a whole panel of people that were like, you know, with the same experiences and stuff, and it ended up being a thing that now doing this for a while, I've talked to a lot of people that have dealt with it and stuff in the atheist community and outside of it too. So, and I also encounter a lot of Christians that are like, yeah, I was on drugs and I went through this recovery program, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever works for you, I guess. I always tell people there's no wrong way to get clean. Like if it worked and got you clean, whatever. But there's also
Yeah,
I
but
don't.
the moment they're religious, they begin to doubt their religious belief. Is the moment that their sobriety is at risk.
Yeah,
You
when your
know?
foundation is built on
Yeah,
imaginary things, it's kind of a
yeah,
problem whenever you're forced to scrutinize those things or to look at them critically. But the so some of these religious places, like the recovery centers, which one of them in my area just closed, they what they were doing is Like if people were late for prayer or didn't have their shirt tucked in or broke some simple rule, uh, because it was a religious place, said a cuss word or something like that, they were kicked out on the street. And
Wow.
for somebody who's on drugs and they've been clean for a period of time, then you go and
Yeah.
kick them out. People were actually dying from this. So
Yeah,
uh,
there's such small mistakes, like we're all human. We all make those type of mistakes. It's like,
and that's not I'm not saying necessarily that religion is, it's not religion that that's at fault for that necessarily. It's just that whenever you take something that's already complicated and you complicate it further by adding religious faith on top of it, it's you're just asking for trouble, and that's the trouble they got.
yeah, the
That's all.
thing is like the most of these facilities have a sort of hierarchy, and like the people at the top are very authoritarian, and they're gonna use all these guilt tactics to get people to get clean. Like, when they begin to have this deeper belief in whatever, well, it's usually Christianity, obviously, but when they begin to have this deeper belief, then they begin to use that to push them towards being sober. Like, oh, if you don't, then you're gonna go to hell. If you don't, then you're committing a sin. Like using drugs is evil, and all of these types of very, very authoritarian guilt techniques that don't really help in the end. That because that's not how you should be uh, making sure that somebody has a good solid foundation, where if they encounter some sort of trouble in the future, then they're not gonna fall back into old ways and back into drugs.
Yeah, yeah, that's, and whenever you're, I spoke for a minute about accountability, and um, that's really like, with that being the cornerstone of like dealing with many types of addiction and stuff, the religion just kind of lets you put that elsewhere, and it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Then
not
when you
your
say, I
fault.
only
It's the
got,
devil.
yeah, I only got clean by the grace of God, like, there's accountability for the positive things too, and you're shorting yourself that, and you're not,
Yeah.
you're,
Like all the hard
meaning,
work that you did.
yeah, yeah, you're just throwing all that out the window, like you didn't do any of that, it was just because God did it.
You're
And
just weak. You were just weak the whole time. Like all you needed was God. It's
yeah,
like, yeah, I completely agree. And people don't realize, because that's one of the main messages of religion, right? Like,
yeah.
you're weak. You can't do this on your own. All you need is God. You need Jesus' salvation. And yeah, it's tough to listen to.
I'm sorry I keep having to look away here, but I've got something going on at the same time. The Circling back around to some of the stuff to do with the brain and things, though, like, you've done a lot of content covering how that is related in some of these religious things, and it's quite similar to the effects that drugs has on people, the endorphins and the rushes like that. It's amazing how
Yeah,
similar
yeah.
that is to drug use.
I did actually a live video on the whole topic of people who are claiming to have visions, or like sort of like the Bible is a whole book of collection of visions, right? Like that's what we base the the stories of that Moses saw God, Revelation, all of the Gospels. They're all pretty much based on visions, and you have to believe that the person having the vision is actually saw these things. And when we look at the brain under the influence of drugs, we can see that people see things that are not there. And when you see people who have, I don't know, different types of uh, health conditions that relate to hallucinations, like what is it called? dissociative identity disorders, where the person sort of uh, like their brain fractures itself into different personalities. Like they may be aware of each other, but they're sort of also protect each other. It's usually based on trauma, but people do things under one personality that they would not do under the other personality, right?
And
Or they
that's usually
speak
the case,
things
right?
that the other one doesn't know about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you can, like now with the science that we've been able to use, like all these different technologies to look into the brain, to measure all these neurotransmitters, to be able to understand what's going on inside our brains, then we can tell, okay, look, the Bible, it was just people. Like there's so many different explanations that you can have. This guy went up a mountain for 40 days or however long it was. Come on, he was just probably dehydrated, starving, lacking
Yeah.
sleep. Like obviously gonna have tons of hallucinations. I think it was Paul that was like exiled into a mountain for like months.
Yeah.
Uh, like yeah, we can logically assume that these people were having visions. So yeah, I do videos about stuff like that, like kind of trying to break down and help people understand the differences between what we used to not understand and how we understand it now. Like, and understanding the brain is a whole lot of it opens up so many doors to being able to see uh, that these things were just what would you call it, like deceptions of our brain,
Sure. Sure.
right?
Native Atheist has been a member for a whole year now. Thanks, Native Atheist. I
Ooh.
appreciate you. Um, I think that's. I think you and Robin are on the same level. There have been around for a whole year now. Awesome. But yeah, the and also not to mention that going back, psychoactive drugs were part of religious experience for
Oh
a
yeah, I
long
was reading
time.
recently about this type of wine that they discovered that was mixed up with some sort of herb, and it was like all the rage, kind of like the drug of choice at the time of like the times that the Bible was being put together. So it's like, well, they were probably pretty high.
Yeah, yeah. The there was I mean there's all kinds of stories throughout history of like people even eating mold and stuff and having religious experiences and we find that like even now some of the things that carry the most weight with people are like near death experiences, but again you've put the brain in this state where it's traumatic for the brain, so the fact that it
Yeah, it
you know
releases a lot of the DMT at the time that you're uh, close to that. Yeah, which is something that we release on a regular basis, but not on the same level, the amount that you release when you're dying, basically. So yeah, people have these sort of experiences where they think they're uh, seeing things, hearing things, touching things that are not there.
yeah the
I mean, alcohol alone, I would say alcohol alone is a great example. And you can see the progression if you watch somebody drinking, um, like where they go from tipsy to more drunk to completely blackout. And like they can't even remember when somebody blacks out, then the next day they're not going to remember any of their actions that they did while they're blacked out. So it's like we know that the brain has this ability to continue performing, to continue to keep you alive, but at the same time not know what's going on around it.
yeah yeah the and I mean I think it's I think those things are well understood, and the studies that they have done trying to confirm that near-death experiences like are actually an out-of-body thing have shown that they're not. The one publication that they refer to as peer-reviewed research is not. It's peer-reviewed in-house by the head of the near-death journal associate, whatever the hell they're called, and
I think I know which one you're gonna say.
yeah, and all this stuff is like, but we have this explanation, and there's things like the God helmet that we've shown that you can induce those things through affecting the brain in certain ways, and all that kind of leads back to the morality lab thing that we talked about, because those were
Yeah.
kind of related studies, and they know that you can affect the prefrontal cortex to cause changes in what people have as their most deeply ingrained morality. And then there's sociology, which shows how culture affects morality. And it's just at every turn that and it's a God of the gaps thing. I guess it's always been a God of the gaps thing, though, really, when you get down to it, because
Yeah.
if you can explain it, of course they can't put God there, but
Then it must be. Yeah.
yeah, but as we've went around in these things, they thought we'd never figure out that they've decided and been going on forever that God does this. We know that there's no reason to invoke a God to explain any of that, and it's just the way that our minds work, and the more we understand that, the more we understand why people think that and divert to that, and why it makes them feel happy, and all those things. But I mean,
Yeah.
you
Are you familiar with the insular cortex part of the brain? Okay, so in case, like, for the chat that may not be familiar with this term, the insular cortex is like a specific part of the brain that's like right in the middle, and it does a lot of things. But I would say like it can process, feelings, emotions, risk prediction, motor control, decision making. But the most important part of it, what it does is it helps you evaluate like all these social and moral violations type of situations, and it triggers a response to things that you can experience if you're seeing somebody under an unfair, I don't know, situation that they're going through, or they're being harmed, um, or somebody is insulting them or putting them down. This part of the brain helps you navigate those judgments of morality, and it's really interesting because it sort of starts with a very simple thing, like if you have, I don't know, a type of food that you smell and that makes you nauseous, that's going to be because of the insula, because it makes you feel disgust. It triggers like the emotion of disgust in your whole body. So
mhm.
it uses that same part of the brain to determine other types of situations. Like I say, if somebody's getting hurt, if somebody's kicking a puppy, or I don't know, anything that you may seem like it's unfair, or giving somebody, I don't know, a child a gift and then the other child nothing. Like you're gonna feel that emotional disgust, like why is this person doing this? And there have been studies that helped us determine, for example, in patients with Alzheimer's, that over the period of their condition, as it develops, it their sense of disgust becomes reduced, and they found that it was because their insula was sort of shrinking. And so they also use this same type of studies to check on people. I think you and I discussed this, about the psychopathy studies. So they found that people who had the true psychopathic characteristics, they also had parts of their brain that were smaller, uh, including the hippocampus and the amygdala, which is like the one that deals with fear emotions. But the insula was one of the main parts of their brain that were smaller. So people who are psychopathic, they actually truly biologically lack the ability to feel remorse for their actions. They lack the ability to feel uh, the emotion of disgust if they see somebody being hurt, including them doing harm to somebody else. They cannot feel, they don't realize that they're doing harm to somebody. So true psychopathy obviously is very rare, like the true, brain, the what you can see in the brain. There's people that just choose to do awful things, but yeah, psychopathy has been pretty well understood, and I think that it helps us see how our own brain can actually help us develop our morality. And if you have a child who you're trying to teach good morals to, that's where you gotta start. You gotta start with helping them develop that part of the brain, showing them uh, how how to be a good person, how to show them by example, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important too, and goes back into, again, like that morality thing. It's all based around that, and we can, again, like, it's, for me, honestly, like, ever since I started doing this as like a live stream thing, the argument that I've gotten most often whenever I have dealt with theists is morality. And I'm like, this is the worst argument you could possibly make. Like, this is the
Yeah,
one thing where we definitely have the science to understand how morality works, and like, there's perfectly good explanations. They always say, you can't ground your morality and all this stuff. And it's like, well, evolution works for that, kind of, but like, if we're doing that, but why are we doing that? And it's like, these things are understood, but anytime we understand something that contradicts what religion says, the religious folks, at least the apologists, are the first ones to, that's pseudoscience nonsense,
yeah,
and especially the fundamentalists, because it's like, and I think what they don't understand is, when you deny like some part of science, it's usually built on other parts of science, right? So
yeah.
like, when they deny, how we can observe morality in the brain, or how we understand evolution or something, when they deny one of those things, it's not just that one thing that they're denying. They're saying that all the work that went into that from all these other scientific fields is also all just bullshit, apparently.
Yeah,
And
that's what I always say is like, in order to understand the Bible, you literally have to like throw away or burn away every other science and history book, because none of them are going to match up with what was saying in the Bible.
yeah, people who
Like,
say that don't understand what grounding means in philosophy. Yeah, the I get, like, I get why they, well, first of all, I think why they say that is because they're just parodying things that have been said by others for the most
yeah,
part. But I get why they like think that and stuff. But if I'm not the one claiming an objective morality in that way, like, even though it's not real, their morality isn't objective either. But even though, like, I'm not the one claiming that, so I don't really care about what you like, all this, like, ground your morality and this, like, I don't need that. Like,
but
it
it's
doesn't
funny
matter.
because I always see this claim that morality comes from God, and then that they have the Ten Commandments specifically, that you're supposed to follow. And one of the biggest ones that I see broken as far as morality is the lion. Okay, the lion clause of the commandments, and you see people who are very fundamentalist, and they like take the Bible literally and think that Adam and Eve were a real thing, and Noah's Ark and all of that. And then suddenly you catch them lying, and it's like, well, what? How can you excuse that if it's literally one of the top 10 rules? Like, you had one job, not to lie,
Yeah.
and here you are lying. but but then when you look at it from a secular perspective, you're like, okay, look, lying is bad. Okay, you don't want to lie, you want to avoid lying, but there are situations where you may have to. I don't know. Uh, let's go with the example that I always hear, the one of Annie Frank. Uh, like if you had to lie to somebody and say that she wasn't hiding in your house, would you lie, or would you not lie because the book told you not to lie? No, of course you're gonna lie, and you're gonna save her life. It's like you can determine morality based on different situations, based on what harms it's gonna cause. Is
Well,
letting somebody die worse than lying to somebody? Like you can balance that out. You can figure that out.
and that shows it right there. But my go-to is always that the God that you claim set these objective morals doesn't even think that, because in the very book you're citing, he says, "Thou shalt not kill," and 2 pages later tells them to kill fucking everybody around there. Like, so, like, kill now, it's okay because these people are wicked, and there was he then gives excuses why you can do it, and why you can stone people, and all the times that doesn't hold. And it's like, okay, how are we, like, at what point is that objective morality? And it's to me, it's one of the craziest arguments that they make. And I just like, I just roll my. I've gotten to the point now to where I'm like, no thanks, I don't want to talk about morality. Like, I don't want to have this conversation again. Like,
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta put these boundaries. Like I do have to do that with some family members because they just
yeah,
like very they have some very extreme views. Another one is like the rules that they use from the Bible to base their morality, that to say that homosexuality is immoral. And problem that I find with that is that these rules are within the 613 Mosaic laws, right? That supposedly Christians are no longer bound to follow because of the new
when it's
covenant
convenient.
with the New Testament.
Yeah,
But they're like, well, no, I'm gonna go find that one because I like that one, because I want to be a bigot, because I want to hate on trans people, on gay
yeah,
people. It's like, come on.
yeah.
Well, do
That
you shrimp? Do you like use two fabrics that mixed up? Yeah, you probably do. Then I'm pretty sure you can let gay people
that
give them a
they
pass.
they will do that in the, like, in the same, like, back-to-back questions too. They'll say, "Oh no, the Bible says that that's wrong, so it's wrong," and then they will turn right around and say, "Well, that's the old law. We don't live by that." And even though Jesus says you're supposed to, I know there's like those Romans things later that like say that like you don't, and kinda, but like Jesus, what does fulfilling the law even mean? That's not really. I hate when they say that. They're like, "No, Jesus came to fulfill the law." Okay, what does that mean? What does fulfill? How do you fulfill laws? That doesn't make any fucking sense, especially when he said,
Wait, there were like
"Obey."
613. Like, what did he? How did he fulfill all of them? Like, okay, I guess he never ate shrimp. He never had gay sex. He never. He always wore cotton, probably. Yeah, like man,
Yeah,
there's just
it's and that's really the thing with the morality argument, is because it gets to this point to where it's like, okay, we've left what the Bible says now, and you're just like making shit up at this point, trying to justify all this. And like they'll try to justify that slavery is okay in the Bible, and that it's not a bad thing, and that, you know, God murdering the whole world, including children and things, and telling them to dash the babies against the rocks because these people talked bad about them, and like all that stuff like that's in there is like they try to justify, and it just gets to this gross place where it's like, you're not really going to sit here and do this, are you? Like, you're not really going to sit here and justify killing children because Jesus said it was, or God said it was okay at one point. Like, that's the, I don't want to, and that's the other part of, like, I don't know. I just don't really engage in a lot of that. I don't mind to talk about it with atheists, But
Yeah, I
like,
guess we agree. We're cool.
yeah, I really don't like the morality argument thing. And like when people, like somebody that just asked to talk to me a few minutes ago, my first question is going to be, this isn't going to be a conversation about morality, is it? That's the first thing I'm going to say, because I'm not
Yeah.
interested. I could care less about hashing that out again. I've done it time after time after. In fact, like out of all the conversations, not debates, because I've only done a couple debates, but like out of all the conversations I've had with theists about various problems with Christianity, religion, the Bible, whatever, like I would say about I would say more than half of them end up being conversations about morality, and I'm like, I'm so sick of talking to you people about
Yeah,
morality,
I saw
because
one recently where it was on another channel. I can't remember who it was, but it was a debate, and it was a theist versus an atheist, and it got really heated up, and it was over slavery. And I'm like at this point in time, we should not be disagreeing about slavery. There should be no debate about slavery. It should be everybody should be on the same lane, on the same side. It's like,
I'm actually going to Monday. I'll be discussing a particular theist that has claims about slavery in the Bible, but not the reason that I'm doing it is not because he's justifying it, but he's actually claiming that it's only the one kind, where it's only the indentured servitude, and that the Bible says nothing about chattel slavery and all that, which is stupid too. But it's not the same. In this case, we can actually get to a
but
point
it
because
did
we
because
have the words.
yeah, there were a lot of verses where it tells you that you can own the slaves, then you pass them down to your children. So that means that it was chattel slavery. It was
That's what
like you
chattel
own
is.
them for life. It was, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
like,
and that was my first response. I
did
said,
you
I
even
think,
read the book, man?
yeah, I said, I think maybe you don't understand what chattel means. Like, I think maybe you're maybe that's where the problem is, because it's, and
Maybe you need to
also
read a
it's,
dictionary instead of the Bible.
yeah, yeah, and well, that's definitely a thing too. Is you get into these things where it's like, and I think Matt Dillahunty did a debate where he taught, and I think actually it ended up being like a mess, that debate was, but he told the person that, he said, look, I've had this conversation a number of times, and here's what's going to happen. Either my opponent is going to argue with me about the definitions of slavery, or what it means to own people. They're going to play semantics with these words, or the words promote, what that means, or the worst case scenario, they're going to sit here and try to justify that it was actually good to do that. And good to see you too, Big Bad Mama. And I
Yeah,
think
that was actually the one that I watched, and it was this person was just saying, yeah, like it's okay to have slaves. That there are situations where it's okay to have slaves in today's society. And I was like,
yeah,
how can you even, like, my brain just doesn't comprehend that. That
yeah,
even if you owe somebody something, no, you can work it up. You can do them favors. We can work out a deal. You can work out a payment plan. Like, no, there is no reason why one human being should own another human being today or ever.
yeah, yeah, exactly. There's no why is my light screwing up? Oh, it's probably the smoke. Never mind.
I think it was, yeah, this book.
Yeah, I was like, why is my background freaking out? But the yeah, those things are like, that's part of the reason why, like, I don't go out seeking conversations with theists, really. Like, I mean, if I see something or whatever, my big thing is if I see you misrepresent like some science that I'm familiar with, um, I will go like look up a source and post it and be like, this is why you're wrong about this thing in science, and this is what it
Yeah.
actually says. Like, I like to do that, but those kind of conversations like that, I just don't really get into too much. Um, I
Yeah, I think it's Seth Andrews posted a video recently with a neuroscientist, I believe it was. I forgot her name. I wish I remembered it. But it's on his channel, anyways. And she was saying that basically facts don't change people's minds.
No.
What may slowly and eventually through a process help somebody come to better conclusions, not change their mind instantly, is to have more conversations and like to have respectful conversations and to use things like epistemology. I did a video about that one. That was like one of my very first videos, and I actually did it with a family member who is a Christian, and it was really fun because I did nothing but questions. Like I will ask him a question and then he will tell me, and then I will ask another question and he will tell me, and like unless he asks me something, then I gave no opinions on my side. I gave no facts. It was just constant questions, like showing interest in what that person is saying, having them question themselves, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best way. Like when you start questioning your own beliefs and your own methodology of how you came to that conclusion, that's when you're gonna be more willing to be open minded and say, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm not right.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you want to be able to like to be able to think critically about things that you hold so dearly? Like why wouldn't you want to be able to be able to apply all that you've learned and everything to that and still see that it works? Ember with a $2 super chat. Since we're congregationing, here's my tithe. Thanks, Ember. Thanks for getting that tithe in. I'll write down that you did that and report it to Kenneth Copeland.
Awesome.
So that's less money you owe him now. Yeah, like why wouldn't you want to do that? Like, because one of the things that I enjoy about like looking at science, especially when it comes to like the physics of cosmology and stuff, is like you can apply at least on the macro scale. I mean, you can apply special relativity to all of it and it works. Like you can all of these different things that they've built around the physics of how those things work and around Newtonian physics and all that. Where they're supposed to work, they work, and they as of now work all the time in those areas. Of course we don't have a unified field theory and all that, but that's a whole different conversation.
But we are learning about it, and over the last even just 100 years, we've learned so much about physics that explains so many different pieces that we were missing. So just because we're still missing some of those pieces doesn't mean that we're not gonna find the parts that are missing down the line. It's just like the technology hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
So
Logan, $1.99. Here's mine. Sorry, I can't become a member at the moment. That's okay, Logan, but you could have actually became a member for less than that.
Yeah, I thought it was $1, right?
Yeah. But thank you though. I appreciate it. If I could gift memberships, I would, but for some reason it doesn't work on my channel. I've tried to figure it out and it won't let me do it. I don't know why, but I can give Patreon memberships. But I can't do the other. Yeah, so it's weird that like I guess I do understand. I used to be a believer. I was raised fundamentalist Christian. I was young earth creationist till I was in my 20s. And I kind of in one way understand like the indoctrination as a thing and all that. But at the same time, it's like I eventually like was confronted with information where I was like, that doesn't work with the things I was told, and had to reconcile those things. And when I did, I came out of it eventually, a little bit later though, understanding that these two things can't both be true. And this one is supported by facts and evidence, and this one is it makes me feel happy. Um, probably not probably not the best position to hold. The
Yeah, I would say comfort is a big one that I see with people who believe in, who, family members, or people that I know that I've had conversations with, and question them about specific parts of their belief. And it seems like, for the most part, even though they deconstructed that thing and came to terms with, well, this doesn't match with this, or this doesn't make sense with the science, or I believe in evolution, so I don't believe in this part of the Bible, but they still want to hold on to that aspect of being able to be with their families for all of eternity, or to be, go to heaven and have an eternal life, which kind of actually sounds brutal. I don't know if I want to have an eternal life. uh,
yeah, no,
but it
and
seems
that's
to
the
be like a
problem, right?
comfort.
Like whenever you start to like scrutinize these things the least little bit, it's like, is that good though? Like, is that really what you want? And it doesn't seem like it is.
Yeah,
And
like
I
I've
mean,
had this question, for example, about the afterlife, right? Like people say, okay, I want to be with, I don't know, my husband, for all of eternity. But what about people who get married twice? Which husband do you get to be with? The one that you divorced because, Christianity doesn't really allow you for having more than one partner. So you will be stuck with the first one that you didn't want in this life. So why do you want that person for the rest of eternity? Or are you gonna have both? Or are you gonna have neither? Like, how does that work? Like, it's kind of like an inconsistency of heavenly life to me.
Logan found the 99 cent memberships. I can't say it.
Nice.
Logan found the 99 cent memberships. Apparently, thank you, Logan. I'll put out something tomorrow. Members only content.
$3.
But yeah, so like I always go with the other side of that, and I say, well, all those people that you love and care about, are you okay being in heaven while you know they're burning in hell? Like, is that like you're okay with that? Because that doesn't sound like paradise to me.
Right.
The
Like, I wonder about that one as well. Like, do you suffer because those people are away from you, or does that mean that they say that there is no suffering in heaven? So does that mean that that person is going to be taken away from your mind, like, or are you not going to give a shit that
and if
they're
they are, doesn't
then
that mean the others are
right?
too?
So it's like, it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't. And also all of those things you're talking about are all contingent on this brain we've been discussing, which doesn't go with you. So
Yeah, like the problem of consciousness. Like, I'm a very, physicalist type of believer that consciousness comes straight from the brain and that's it. So yeah, like the whole spirit thing to me, I used to believe in it. Obviously, like you, I used to believe in ghosts and spirits and the soul and the whole thing, like your soul leaving your body and whole going into heaven or whatever. But yeah, like the more you study the brain and the more information you accumulate about these topics, the better you understand why souls, spirits, all of that doesn't compute.
I love this comment by Stephanie Helms. I'm told that heaven is ruled by godly men like Donald J. Trump. I'll pass,
Oh
thank you.
no. Thanks
Yeah.
for the warning, Stephanie. Just run away.
Yeah, the uh, so many of those things, like again, like the least little bit of scrutiny. We're not even like actually getting into the deep weeds of the science and all that. Like there's science associated with the things we're talking about that support what we're saying, sure, but you don't have to even go that far because you can just simply think about it just barely for a minute, and you're like, that doesn't make sense, and that's really one of the biggest problems I had with it, especially whenever I found out like the creation myths that other religions have and stuff.
Yeah,
I
or
was
like
like, well,
what
those can't all be
happens.
true.
Yeah, right. Like what you were just saying, about you don't even have to go that far. Like, no, even even looking at somebody who has dementia or Alzheimer's, like this person had all this personality, right? And this personality is supposed to be part of their soul and part of what goes on to heaven. What happens to somebody that loses their memory, that loses all of their cognitive abilities, right?
Yeah.
Like they go back to being sort of like a child. Like, is that still stored somewhere, or like, no,
And,
like that doesn't make sense. Like those abilities are gone once those part of the brain are completely damaged. So it's like,
and that goes back to those same folks with the injuries to the prefrontal cortex that are no longer experience the same type of morality or have the same morality or
yeah,
don't have morality at all in some cases. Even the anything recognizable as morality, I guess, is what you would say. But the those same people that experience that thing also, like, if God wrote it on their heart, where is it? Like, that shouldn't be able to happen if your consciousness is part of your soul and not a product of your brain, and your morality is written on your heart and not just a function of your brain, then how do you lose those things?
yeah,
You need to explain that, and you can't. not
yeah.
with
I
your,
mean,
you
like,
can explain it, but not with the Bible.
yeah, and I mean, when you look at it, like I said, the more you learn, the more you can deconstruct these
Yeah.
supernatural ideas.
And one of the strongest series of videos, and even though it was about a worldwide flood, which I think is kind of like, even though that's one of the things I debated once, I think that's a fun debate, though. I don't think it's really, I don't really even take it all that seriously. But like, Aaron Ra did the series of videos on all the different branches of science that disprove Noah's flood. And sure, all those disprove Noah's flood, but there's actually a little hidden thing there, if you're paying attention, is that it's the same thing with all of religion, is that there's all these branches of science that discount any number of things. Some
Yeah,
of them you have lots of branches of science. Sometimes it's a little more specific. Like um, Ray
and like
Comfort.
archaeology. Yeah, like I mean, you have so many.
Yeah. Ray Comfort did that video
Oh
where it's
yeah,
like 10 scientific proofs or 10 scientific things out of the Bible or whatever. It was on the In Living Waters channel, or Living Water, whatever the hell it's In Living Waters. I think I'm thinking about In Living Color and then combining that with Living Waters. But
he's the soda can and banana guy, right?
yeah, and it's like he says, oh well, hand washing's in there, but yeah, is it really though? Because hand washing isn't in there on its own. It's in there as part of a ritual where you also like go kill two birds and
Yeah, you probably wanted to wash the blood off, you know.
yeah, and if your wife is menstruating, you gotta like lock her out of the house and not touch her for 7 days, and
Oh
you know,
yeah, I remember that
just
one
all these
too.
crazy things that aren't really science. They're obviously ritual based, and just because they happen to in one part of it go down to the creek and stick their hands in it, doesn't mean that they knew about germs and that you needed to wash your hands, because we can show they didn't know about that. The those things are those are always the most silly things, like and I don't know why. Well, I do actually have a theory on why now, but for the longest time, I never understood why theology, why believers put themselves in that position. Because, like, you don't have to reconcile your book with science. You don't have to pretend that it makes sense with science. You could simply say, like, okay, maybe there's things in the Bible we don't understand, but I still believe that there's a God that does this and that and whatever, and that's faith. Because faith doesn't require that you justify it with these other things in any way.
Yeah.
But yet they want to always try and shoehorn science. Oh, science supports every bit of this, when it absolutely does not in any way. And more recently, I've kind of figured out that the reason that they're doing that is debate professionals and atheists into debates on these subjects, so that then they can give
Yeah,
credibility to them. Is kind of the whole reason for it.
true.
Going all the way back to the 70s, there's groups that gave this as the reason that they were having those conversations. So I think that it all kind of stems from that, which makes sense.
That's true. Yeah, but I mean, the problem is that the book is already out there and it's already written, so they kind of can't say, well, I'm just gonna believe in God and not buy any of that. Like they have to buy the whole package, otherwise, because the book says that unless you believe it, then you're not gonna have salvation. So it's kind of like
What
you gotta buy into it, otherwise, yeah.
that's always my number one question for them, because whenever they start doing that, I say, well, you're obviously interpreting that book different than these other people do, or than I do. And can you tell me why one interpretation is better than the other, and how what mechanism you use to arrive at that?
Hmm.
And of course they can't answer that question, because it's designed that way. But
Yeah, and there are so many. There's 400 only English translations of the Bible, and at first I thought this number was fake, so I had to go and look it up. But there's 45,000 denominations of Christianity in the world, and I was
yes,
mind blown that there were that many. I was not aware that there were that many. I was like,
I
wow,
had to go. I
it's
had
a
to go
lot.
check that too at first, because at first I found a number that said like
I was
ten
like, maybe it's
thousand.
4,000. Probably it was like, no, it's 45,000.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
what.
because one of them is like, well, I don't agree with this one rule, so I'm gonna go make a whole new denomination and interpret it this way, and then yeah, it's
And that shows that actually what they have to do is, each of them are interpreting and defining a God into existence in their own way, and then they all have their own beliefs about which parts of the Bible hold more weight and how each part's interpreted. And the only difference is then they get some other people to agree with them, and you have a new denomination of Christianity at that point.
yeah,
Like, and so you have, that's why. And of all the Christians I've seen asked about it, of all the ones I've talked to, um, they all they all give different attributes to God, and which ones are more important and have more meaning, and all those, like, it's always different for every one of them, even within the same denomination. Though they all believe something
right,
different, and you can't. It's so odd that you can't get otherwise intelligent, um, rational people, though, to even consider that they might be wrong for a moment. Like,
yeah,
and I'm not
yeah,
speaking of all theists being intelligent, rational people, obviously,
yeah,
but
yeah,
there are intelligent, rational people who believe, and you still can't get them to even consider that they may be wrong. Usually, there's some that are honest, but about that particular question, but or thought about it enough to give an honest answer anyway.
yeah.
Um,
It's true because I have family members that are believers, and I love them, and I think they're great people. They're smart, and some of them have uh higher education degrees, so they're educated and they still believe, and you're like, these are good people. So it's like they have some sort of compartmentalizing of their religious belief with everything else, because that is the only part of their life where they will use that type of faith, uh, belief. Like they'll be like, well, I have faith in this, and that's the only place where they're gonna use that.
is that you beeping or me?
Yeah, sorry, I think that was me.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure, because I had trouble earlier. I want to
Yeah.
make sure everything wasn't getting ready to go to shit.
Yeah, I think that's weird. Why was it? I'm not sure why it was coming through because it's on my computer. It was like a
It's
message that came through. Like I had the app closed, but it's still.
Well,
beat for some reason.
if your system sounds aren't, if it's not coming through StreamYard, it's your system sounds, and your microphone picks it up, it'll still play it because it's not. It's the software in StreamYard's the only thing cutting out those things. So like it cuts out
Okay.
my echo, but it won't cut out your system sounds. You'll hear
Okay. Well, I have the sound in my ear. It's like connected to my
Oh,
cochlear
that's
implant, so
different.
nobody else can hear anything. Yeah, I can't use the headphones because I can't hear anything through my actual ears. Like the cochlear implant is connected to my brain, literally in my
Maybe
brain.
that's what was
So
disconnecting then. Maybe that's why we heard it. Maybe it
yeah, that could be. That
had a
could be.
hiccup there for a moment.
Yeah. Hopefully,
I
it
don't
wasn't too
know. I'm
distracting.
just guessing. I'm not. I actually have a degree in computer science, but I'm not pretending to know what the problem is. um,
Yeah, I have no idea. I thought you weren't hearing it, so I was like, oh, cool. All right. I was
but
surprised that you heard it. So yeah.
So we've got about 15 minutes left here. I want to use that time to talk a little bit about where people can find you and all that stuff, and then any questions anybody may have. If you tag me in the chat, I will ask them.
I'll take questions. Yeah.
And I'm sorry if you've asked questions if we went and I didn't see them. It's hard for me to do both. But your
Yeah, now is
channel,
the time.
as far as putting content on your channel's rather new, right?
Yeah, I started. I think it was in March of this year that I started the channel. I started with my laptop, microphone, and camera, so it was like really crappy quality at first. Then I got the good mic and camera because I was gonna go on one of the live shows for another channel. I wanted to start branching out into doing that, so I was like, if I'm gonna do that, then I need to have better quality sound. So yeah, I like I said, I put mostly content that is a lot of it can be religious based. I don't know, like debunking Noah's Ark or debunking Adam and Eve's story, like specific parts of the Bible and specific things that I can actually find good scientific or historical evidence to show the viewers. And then sometimes I will mix in random only science videos that have nothing to do with religion. Like for example, I've done one for how the brain processes emotions, how the brain processes. Well, actually, did one about the how the God belief can be sort of an addiction. So that one was kind of like mixed up on both of those topics.
Sure.
Like the science of the teenage brains, how to help your teenager. I have a teenager, so how to help them navigate
Aren't they fun?
their changes. Yeah. Yeah, currently my one teenager is kind of like I don't know if I've seen them in days, like in the room over there somewhere, I think. I know they're alive, so I bring them food and like yeah. But anyways, like I think the last one that I did was how something called frisson, which is like music frisson, which is like the way your skin gets goosebumps when you're listening to like specific types of music, and what happens in your brain while that is happening and why that is happening, like on the dopamine and serotonin going up and down and all of that stuff. And that was probably one of the most fun that I did lately. And I did it because after the whole withdrawals thing back like in July, when I told you that I went into a dark place, the only thing that helped me come out of that was music.
Yeah.
And I would say I listened for like a whole month to nothing but Green Day. Here's my shirt, Green Day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like it was like I did it like every day, and it helped. I think it helped like rewire my brain back into making its own dopamine, because whenever I would do that, it was like the only time that I could like get out of bed and do things and do stuff that I needed to get done. So yeah, that was that was a
Awesome.
pretty interesting video. It was like more personal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that I think that's awesome. I'll have to go catch up on some of that stuff. The
Um,
I've
Other
been
than that, I've been on other channels mostly lately a lot, doing the non-profits, which is where we like review articles about stuff, usually like kind of related to religion, but mostly like current events. I don't know, like stuff dealing with abortion or separation of church and state, LGBTQ rights, all that kind of like. I like to talk about these important topics and bring them to light. So I thought that was a good channel to go and support, and so I've been doing a lot of videos with them. Then Sunday I'm gonna be on Maya Atkinson's video
yeah.
channel. I believe, I'm pretty sure I'm scheduled for it.
Yeah,
Hopefully still
you'll be
on.
on Maya Atkinson Sunday for Bad Science Sunday,
Yeah,
which is
that's the
one of
one.
my
Yeah,
favorite shows on all of YouTube.
awesome.
So
So I'll probably see you on there. Yeah,
yeah,
on the
I'll be
chat.
in the chat,
That's cool.
and so will most of the people here anyway. Most of the people here go over there for that. That's an event every week in the atheist community. This section of it anyway. Bad Science Sunday is such a fun show and just a great way to either end or begin the week, depending on how you look at it. The
Yeah,
Whatever it is, if it was in the middle of the week, it'd still be all. If she called it Bad Science Sunday and
right.
it came
Yeah,
on a Wednesday, I would still watch it. So
for real, for
yeah,
real. Yeah,
in fact, I may like it even more. Um,
yeah.
uh,
Every time I watch it, I've enjoyed it really because they cover like such a wide variety of stuff and like all these crazy conspiracy theories and like misinformation and
yeah,
pseudoscience.
and
Yeah,
I like that they're not taking those topics completely seriously. Like, sure, you may have some people that point out like some serious science or things, or they may have a serious discussion at some point about it. But for the most part, the overall feel of the show is let's just have fun and talk about
yeah,
this crazy stuff and have a good time, and the chat has a good time usually, and um, it's just a really fun show. And Maya just recently hit 1,000 subscribers is
oh
doing
yeah, that's awesome, awesome.
yeah, doing really well over there. And so yeah, Maya has been a real good friend to me for some time now, and so I may be a little biased, but that's okay.
No,
Um,
she seems really good. I'm excited to get to know her a little bit better because I've seen her on a lot of like, I've seen her on many other channels, and I always run into her in the chats. So I'm excited to actually like have a conversation with her. And tomorrow, 3 Central, I'm gonna be on my channel with, like I said, Secular Rarity, and I know some people might know Richard Gilliver. He's from the UK. He has his own channel too, a small channel, like kind of like mine. And we're gonna be talking about the consciousness and ghosts and spirits and all that. That should be a fun conversation too. And whatever else comes, because I know Secular Rarity likes to talk and talk, so there's no telling when that stream is gonna end. Oh, somebody in the chat said, if the weasel remembers to chill it. I think the
if the
weasel is
weasel
the is
remembers to
from,
chill it.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah, Dr. Tapioca Weasel
the weasel, yeah, yeah.
is so much fun. I have to get him over here to come on sometime. Even if I have to have Maya bring him, I guess. But the I've never got to. I mean, I've been on Bad Science Sunday, so I've got to sit down and talk to him a little bit through that. But I have a lot of fun with him, and he cracks me up. His particular brand of comedic.
Humor, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, Pats on Sundays is just an awesome show, and on Sunday is such a cool day because so many people stream
There's
that
so
day.
much going on. Yeah.
Yeah, just in this corner of things, because I know there's also like the line airs at the same time I do now, and there's other shows that come on throughout the day, but you have like
Uh,
The
Yeah,
line comes
earlier on,
on.
I think Lamar comes on earlier on Sundays. He's an
Yeah,
ex-pastor. Yeah, his show's
yeah,
cool. I
yeah.
like it.
All
Yeah.
day Sunday, there's somebody on every Sunday. On this, I do my show, which usually goes from 2 to like 4, sometimes a little over, and then I take a break for a little while and chill, and then I come back and try to catch Ember's show if I can, and Ember's show leads into Bad Science Sunday, and there's Skeptic Spins on that day sometimes.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I was on that one time. Yeah, I was
Zach,
on his show with the Punk Apostate with Brentley. Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah,
was cool. Yeah.
yeah. Zach from the channel The Shaken Fist, which is a smaller channel but an awesome channel, comes on
Shaky Fist.
Sundays.
Okay, I don't know that one. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, Zach has a particular way of approaching these topics, and again, he gives information, but he does it in a really funny, sarcastic way that's a lot of fun to watch. And he makes little music videos and stuff of himself, and he does a lot of stuff with Michael Beverly, and there's all kinds of people. I think Jay Bundy comes on Sundays sometimes too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he
But
does. Yeah, I've seen him on some Sundays too.
then again, he may just stream whenever he wants. It's hard to tell with him. But I don't know. I don't know. I see him on a lot of different times. But um,
Yeah, that's what I love about this. It's like so many shows, and everybody's trying to support each other, bring each other up. Yeah, it's cool. I really like it. There's another one I've been watching. What's his name? Chris Mallard from the Daily Atheist Morning Show, I think it's called.
yeah,
And he's actually gonna be on Truth Wanted tonight because I told him to go on because he wanted to get involved a little bit more on other shows, and I was like, hey, just go. Like,
I know.
just ask. The most they can say is no. Yeah,
he's talked about nothing else other than getting on something on the Atheist Experience for months. I'm aware.
I know. Yeah, he's pretty excited about it.
Jenny Morgan, I'd never come on this show. It doesn't excite me enough. Jenny Morgan's been on this show a number of times, and you're welcome to come on anytime, Jenny Morgan. I haven't seen you in a while. Since Beck stopped streaming, I don't run into you enough. I know you're over on Purple's channel a lot, but again, I miss that too. It's as I started streaming more and everything, it's been hard to catch everybody that I used to catch because they stream at times now when I'm either
Same.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like it's not that I don't want to catch some of those things. It's that, I mean,
Yeah,
like
they're
in
overlapped,
between,
so you're like,
I have to like sometimes just sit down and decompress after it sometimes, depending on how the shows go and stuff. Some days are different and I can just go right on to the next one, but I'm also like working on recorded content, and we're getting ready to work on every Wednesday Jenny's over there. Yeah. And I'm working on putting out more recorded content, and I'm working on getting ready to start organizing the Ark Encounter protest for July. And
oh, you're doing that. That's cool.
yeah, the group that
It's gonna be a
usually
lot of
does
work.
it, yeah, the group that usually does it has decided not to do it until the 10th year, which is another year or two away. So they had offered to allow me access to some of their resources, well, to all of their equipment and stuff that they set up down there. So I need to get to talking with them and sit down. Actually, Secular Rarity is reaching out to Jim from them now to set up a time for us to talk and stuff, to sit down and work out some of those details. And then I've got to make shirts and set up fundraisers, and of course, I have Jess to help me do this, but there's just so many
may
things
have
that I
some
got involved in.
experience with stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I said
No,
I may
I have
have
no
some
fucking clue
experience
what I'm
with that.
doing.
I did Did you know? Did you know? Did you hear about the March for Science? That was like in 2016 or
Yeah,
17.
I know what
17.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, I did the one for Houston, so
Oh, sweet.
yeah, we had
Well,
like
I mean, you're welcome
15,000
to.
people. Yeah.
We're looking for all the people to get involved that want to get involved. So you're welcome to get in on this. The you know it's it's the so the Ark Encounter opened on the 7th of July to coincide with Genesis 7:7 inundation, and the um, historically they kind of took it and did it on the second Sunday, but since I kind of get to do it myself this time, and the 7th is on a Monday, I'm going to do it the day before on the 6th.
Right.
Makes more sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. Monday probably wouldn't get that many people out there.
At least that's what that's the preemptive plan at the moment. Again, we haven't sat down and worked out a lot of things yet, so I haven't started putting all that other stuff out there yet, because we're just now working on setting up some meetings and sitting down and talking about things and getting everybody up to speed on what we're going to be able to do, and then start working on some of the logistics of it all and everything that we need to get set up ahead of time, as far as, again, fundraisers to be able to fly people in to speak
Yeah,
at
that's
it.
probably the most important. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, all that stuff. But that's all. We'll get there. The right now, like I said, we're just getting to the point of sitting down and figuring some stuff out, and then we'll go from there. But last year I started to do it, but I just found out that the tri-state free thinkers weren't going to do it at the last moment, like literally just a few weeks or a couple weeks before. I found out they weren't going to. It might have been a month before. I found out they weren't going to do it, and so ended up being like several people still came to Eastern Kentucky and hung out with me for the weekend, and we went to like Carter Caves, and I hung out and drank a bunch.
That's fun.
Yeah, we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. But so yeah, this year though, I wanted to get more on top of it. That's why we're starting all the way back in December to start getting things worked out. That way,
It takes time. Yeah, it takes time.
that way,
I
I think I've got as much time to do it as I need. Hopefully, it still won't be enough. You know that, right? Like it'll still come down to the last week of it. I'm running around like crazy, not having everything in place. But hopefully, I surround myself with enough people who are bright and have experience in these type of things, so that they can help me to realize some of the things that I may be missing, or having more eyes looking at it doesn't hurt. But anyway, so AJ's channel is Ways to Human, and it's linked in several places throughout the
just look it up right here.
yeah, it's down there below the video too. There's a link directly to it, but it's also linked in the chat a number of times, and we've sat here and 2 hours went by real fast. It's so easy to talk to someone and just go on and on. I've had these go on 4 and 5 hours and not realize. I think I talked to Michael Beverly for like 5 hours one day. And then the first time he was on, he talked to Azo for like 6 or 7 hours. And but yeah, so I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me. And again, sorry that we couldn't do it yesterday, but it looks like a good crowd showed up today. And
yeah, no, it's cool. I will definitely come back if you will have me back.
Sure. Yeah, I love to have. I do open panels and crap too often, so I'm always happy to have. Whenever I post that, if you see it or something, or you see I'm doing something, even if you see I'm having some kind of conversation you want to add to, you just holler at me and let me know. And I'm always interested to get more people's perspectives on things. Let's see. Where was I? Anyway, I've seen that some people in the chat said that they went over and subscribed and things. So that's awesome. And I hope everybody will go over and subscribe to AJ's channel. You came highly recommended by Secular Rarity, and
Yeah, I told him every time he tells my name to somebody, they're like, "Hey, let me have you on your show." Like, just keep doing that. Thank you.
yeah,
Whatever you're doing is
yeah.
working.
Getting around and going on other shows is a great way to grow your channel quickly. And
Yeah, and I really enjoy the conversations. I don't just do it for the subscribers. Like, I really like have fun, like talking to people, getting to know
well,
other. Yeah, it's cool.
even
Is
the,
it?
so here's the thing, that like I don't necessarily like, if I didn't grow any more subscribers ever from now on, like that would be fine. Like I would still come do the same thing and stuff. But the more subscribers you grow, the more of those conversations you make available, right? Like
True. Yeah.
the more of those you get to have, and there's a lot of the picture under Southern Hospitality. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there to talk to, and so I hope your channel does keep growing and stuff, because I had a great time talking with you, and definitely we'll stay in contact, and we'll do some other stuff. We didn't get as deep into some of an actual like deep conversation on the brain as I would like to have. There's a more a deeper conversation there to have that we can do sometime. But
yeah, for sure, that will be fun. I would love that.
as of right now, I think that I will be on Sunday with hold on, let me I'm going to confirm real quick that
Well, Stephanie in the chat says, "I'm gonna fill up the silence." Okay, she says, "Thank to the parade, I am no longer constipated." That's good news. Congratulations, Stephanie.
well, I'll let everybody know, Stephanie. The Dave from over at Captive Desk is going to come hang out tomorrow, and we may just
That's cool.
we may let just like open it up and let some other people come on if they want, and we may cover a little bit of a thing AIG put up. I'm currently in the process of editing. I've already recorded it and stuff. One of the old style voiceover videos like I used to do about a video that Donnie from Standing From Truth posted, and it's a response, but it's not just about the shitty science that he does. It's a lot more than that in this video. So stay tuned for that. I'll get it out this weekend. I'm going to try and get it out either tonight or tomorrow. So well, there's other things going on. I'm going to try and get it out this weekend. I'll just put it that way. But I'll be on Sunday with Dave, and I'll be on Saturday at Dave's place. For Saturday night at the Atheist. We've got a cool video we're going to talk about over there. So come watch us over there too. Dave is almost at 500 subscribers. So go over there and subscribe to Captive Desk too while you're at it. You got anything else you want to say, AJ?
No, thank you everybody. As how tons of familiar names in the chat. Totally appreciate everybody that came to support, and hope to see them around. I know I will.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks everybody that came and watched. Thank you for the super chats and the subscriptions and all that, guys. I really appreciate it. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do that. Other than that, that's all I got. See you guys later. Bye bye.